maybe didn't necessarily know that they could tap into their imagination, that was even like a well that was even like tappable, right? To use this word, and didn't know that they could co-create, their life.
It's just so interesting because when things like that start to happen, it's like, what the hell? Like, what else could happen? What else could where else could your imagination take you that you never thought was possible? Hi everybody, and welcome to Evolve Ventures, where we are making evolution possible for growth-minded humans through vulnerable lessons, stories, and technology. I am your host, Bianca Thomas.
And I am your host, Emilia Smith. Welcome back. Another episode, y'all. Welcome if you are a new listener. 134, we are diving into how your imagination is more powerful than you think. And we put the ... there because we hope to spark that thing deep within inside each one of us, which I believe is so essential for manifestation, for creation, for any sort of evolution, whatever that might look, which is curiosity. Curiosity for me tends to be one of the biggest underestimated tools that I believe every single person has the ability to tap more into when it comes to their imagination. And I think that, I know for me, when I look at like the slew of dreams and things that I've imagined and things that I've actually created and or have manifested, it all started with a little baby curiosity. A little seed of curiosity. So to that extent, I'm excited because Bianca and I are going to take a little bit of a different tact with this episode. So
yeah,
welcome to the table.
I think what's really interesting is that I've never been a person who was a dreamer. Like, I've never been someone who, like, just believed things out were possible, believed that, if I wanted something and if I really thought hard about it and if I really worked hard for it, that I could get it. My imagination never really worked like that. Like, I think for a big majority of my life, I was just somebody who took things as they came and hoped that maybe, hopefully someday things would work out.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, you met me in a point in my life when I was like that. Like, I had no dreams. I didn't have I didn't have like a vivid imagination of where my life would be or where we would go. So like the fact that we've created what we have, it was something I couldn't have imagined. It was unbelievable to me. Like, I never thought that something like this could be possible.
That makes me really happy.
Like, shit.
It makes me like dually happy as it does. It kind of makes me sad too, because like I think about that and I'm like, well, like like how many people do you think in this world were or are just the way that you used to be, right? Like just kind of accepted things for the way they were and maybe didn't necessarily know that they could tap into their imagination, that was even like a well that was even like tappable, right? To use this word. And didn't know that they could co-create, their life.
I think most people are at that place. I think what's so interesting though is like, you and I have talked about this before, and I think I've mentioned this on a previous podcast. For the longest time, like, I wasn't ever someone who genuinely had friends. Like, when I was a kid, like, I was very much picked on. I was very much bullied. I was that, like, weird girl that would do whatever she could to get people to like her and to be friends with her. So I was like a chameleon. I would morph, and everyone knew it. So I was really like bullied and picked on and made fun of. And I remember I always had a thought of like, I want a best friend.
Aww.
Like, I really want a friend like you see in movies, or like I've seen other people have, where it's like they do everything together. They're always together. People know that they're like they're like with each other, and that like you're not gonna mess with one of them and the other one isn't gonna come into play. And I just remember always wanting that and always wishing that I had that, and like wishing me and my sister were like that, and we weren't, because we were just two very, very different people.
Woof.
And I just remember always being so different and never believing that that was going to happen for me. And then I go to this Muay Thai gym because Kevin is like, hey B, like if you want to get back into fighting, maybe try Muay Thai instead of karate. And I'm like, all right. So I go to this Muay Thai gym, and here's this girl who beats the living hell out of me, and I'm like, oh my God, I think this is it. I think I found her. Like, I think I found that person. And it just ended up working out. Like, we ended up becoming so close, and now we're like inseparable. Like, we joke around that like Alan's your husband and I'm your wife, and
it's funny. Like, life partners.
Yeah, seriously. Like, we just created this. We created what I always wanted, and even more than I thought was possible. And it was really like transformative for me, because I never understood that if you really do imagine something, and if you really set your intentions to finding it, like, it will happen. And there's a lot of data and science, obviously, that goes behind that. Like, we've talked about reciprocal determinism and karma, and how they're like, there's just a lot of science behind it. But it's just so interesting, because when things like that start to happen, it's like, what the hell? Like, what else could happen? What else could, like, where else could your imagination take you that you never thought was possible? Like, someone like Steve Jobs, for example, like, he straight up created that. And Walt Disney and all of these other, you know, visionaries, or like Oprah Winfrey creating the OWN network, right? Like, it's just, you don't really know what's possible until you start just having like that twinge of hope of like, yeah, but what if? Yeah, but what if?
Well, that's where that curiosity part comes in. And it's funny that you mentioned like you always wanted your sister to be your best friend, because I think that that's very much same. So I don't necessarily talk about my family too much on this podcast, because they've made it very evident that they want to be left out of the equation when it comes to me talking publicly. Makes them uncomfortable. So, but with specifically my experience around my sister, what I will say is that it's funny you say that, because having a younger sister, it was always like so cool. It was awesome, because I immediately thought that like that would mean she'd be my best friend for life. That would mean like anything that I wanted to do, like she would be right there game for it. And this poor gal, now woman, you know, like I thought that she wanted to be that for me too. I thought that that's what she wanted too. And in reality, I've very much woken up to the fact that that was never the case. And I remember so much like seeing what could be possible as best friends, or what could be possible as business partners, or what could be possible as like whatever relationship I believe we were capable of creating. When in reality, what I noticed is that was because I would have been the one creating that, and her equally wanting to co-create in that regard. And so, you know, I remember thinking about even different business ventures that I got so excited about that I wanted to pull her into. And I was like, we could do this. Like, I would see the passions and the things that she thought were her purpose. And I always try to, in a way, try to manifest those for her or with her. And, you know, it's funny that you say that, because in a same way, kind of to that same vein, okay, well, since my sister didn't want to do that, well, okay, like who's the next person that would want to do that? It would be like my friends. And none of my friends were really entrepreneurial in the sense that they wanted to take a leap towards like the growth and contribution. And when I started to look at some of my dreams and some of the things that I wanted to do in the world, there was no one that really said like, like, I want to join you on that mission. Like, I want to co-create that world too, right? No one really that like had a bigger imagination than I did. And certainly no one that was nearly as curious when it came to this world and some of the things that we could do to help improve it. And so it's funny because as you kind of like think about the like challenge with when you do start to have an imagination, you do kind of start to prove what's possible for you simply alone. When you have and when you meet other people that actually can help co-create what that world is that you see, what is possible is so amazing. You know, just thinking about evolve, like, and you and I were talking about this a little bit before. It's like, man, I always had hoped that I wouldn't be the only one on this journey creating all of this with the world. And I'm so grateful now because while my imagination always knew that many people could be a part of this mission and this impact and this train that we have rolling, I started to lose hope a little bit, honestly, of who actually would join me in that journey. And that's where I get so grateful for you and Alan, you know, my 2 life partners, because at the end of the day, you know, you guys were the first of many people that actually helped me to see that I didn't have to like create this world and contribute to this world in a positive way, that I felt so deeply called from a duties standpoint. And then once that, you guys helped me see that, like, the world opened up, you know, our team members, like all of these things were manifested as a result of that curiosity of what if I could help to change the world in a positive way? What if, you know, one of my favorite quotes is, be the change that you wish to see in the world. What if, you know, what if I could? And it's like the little train that could, you know, you start to prove to yourself, like, it's not only possible, it's possible for you. No. And it'll be worth it because there's people that want to be on those trains. And when it comes to, you know, any listener that's listening to this, your imagination is far more powerful than you think. That ... represents that curiosity. Like, where are you not being curious in your life right now? Or where are you not tapping into that wealth of imagination to actually make those dreams that you have come true?
A little bit of a different... Huh?
I said that was cool to look back at.
Yeah. Quick. Yeah. A little bit of a different approach for this episode, but I liked this. This was interesting.
Definitely interesting. I hope that I think, you know, if there's going to be any lesson or any takeaway for a listener, like, and this is one question, B, that I wanted to ask you before we definitely jumped off. Like, what do you think is the biggest preventer for anyone that, you know, had the experience that you had, for example, where maybe they are in that spot? Like, how do they know that they're in that spot? Because I think that obviously, like, you didn't spend your entire life there, right? You accepted kind of the world as it was, and imagination wasn't necessarily huge, and you had your own experience. But like, now obviously you're starting to be around visionaries and you're starting to develop that skill on your own accord. So like, how would someone listening to this, how would they know that maybe they're in that part of their life or that phase or that chapter where they're not tapping into their imagination and getting curious and co-creating the future that they're on the trajectory to? How would they know that? And then number 2, what is it that's getting in their way?
How do they know they're not tapping into their imagination?
Yeah.
I think as everything seems hopeless. Like, that's how it felt for me.
Yeah.
Like, things didn't seem overly exciting or overly... Yeah, I would just say exciting. Like, I wasn't excited about my future. I wasn't excited about, like...
Were you, like, nihilistic
was in
and
store
cynical?
for... Yeah, a little bit. Because it was like, is this all that's going to be? Like, is this what this is going to continue being? Like, I had no idea what my future was going to hold for me. Genuinely, I had no idea. And it was like, I really hope this doesn't continue. Like, I hope this is not what my life looks like going forward, because if it is, like, it ain't it. It ain't it at all. So, second question, how do you get out of that? I would say challenge yourself to do the things that in the past you've told yourself you wanted to do and talked yourself out of. Like joining that Muay Thai course. Like, it was pretty expensive. It was like $200 a month. But I was like, something might come out of this. I've always wanted to learn how to fight better, so let's do it. Why not? And then it was kind of just like inevitable from there. I got the shit beaten out of me by this one, and then now we're creating our dreams. So it's like you never know what could happen. So I guess I would say, yeah, that's what I would say. Try to do some of the things that you convinced yourself you can't. Put yourself out there, see what happens.
I like it. You never know what will come from a punch in the stomach. Or a punch in the face.
Or a hook to the face.
A hook to the face. Oh, yeah.
What's your episode suggestion?
Episode suggestion would be, this is interesting because it doesn't necessarily apply as much, but my initial one was number 13, bringing it way on back to understand why you need balance. This is talking about masculinity and femininity right when we were like little baby podcasters.
Little babies.
But I think that this is still relevant as a result of how maybe you might have a gender box that you might feel grounded in because you're a feminine. You know, the world looks more hopeless for you because there might be cultural or societal or gender norms that are seemingly or feeling like they're stacked up against you. And or maybe there might be masculine gender norms that you've felt pressured and boxed in by, and you really haven't had the permission to kind of explore what's my feminine side, what's my masculine side. And if I were to have a degree of balance, right, this metaphysical concept, how can I channel both my masculinity and my femininity at the same time in the same moment in a day to be able to actually manifest what I know and believe and feel pulled to? How can I use those concepts, that energy, to actually tap more into my imagination? So I do believe it's still relevant. So what about you, B?
Mine is the next one after that, 14. Your unique energetic dualism with Shauna Pelton.
Yep.
All
Cool.
right.
Alrighty.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. We hope this was valuable. We hope this helped spark your imagination a little bit. And we'll see you next time.
Bye everyone.